Hello everyone, glad to be back. Today is 14th of November, now it's 9 o'clock in the morning Moscow time. I'm Levan Gudadze and this is my first update for the day in which I will share all the main news that are making headlines in Russian media outlets and Russian language pages on different internet platforms. There are quite a few very significant developments and news that I like to share with you for this moment. And I will start with a short summary of the Ukrainian battlefield. According to latest reports, main hotspots are on two sectors of the front. First is Kherson and the second is Donetsk. Main events are taking place in these areas. When it comes to Kherson region, main hotspot of course is still Krinky settlement, which is here by the way, in between let's say Novaya Kakhovka and Oleshki. Ukrainian forces, despite heavy casualties, are continuing to send more and more reinforcements in the direction of Krinky, and weather conditions are kind of helping Ukrainian forces at this time because of the fog, almost constant fog during the early hours, nighttime and the early hours of the morning, so that they are using this opportunity to send more reinforcement in the direction of Krinky. And according to Rebar, a Russian military channel, biggest military channel on Telegram, seems like main direction of Ukrainian forces will be this forest massive to cut this road, by the way, that are connecting Oleshki with Novaya Kakhovka. Although to reach this road, Ukrainian forces have to surpass quite a resistance of Russian military personnel. But main point is that seems like this trap that was set up by Russian side for Ukrainian forces in Kherson region are beginning to gain attraction, beginning to work as it was planned by Russian officers. And Kiev regime is sending more and more, willing to send and sacrifice more and more Ukrainian units. And dear friends, yesterday you had quite a good confirmation of this understanding of mine of current situation in Kherson region. When I'm saying it's a trap, not everybody agrees with me, but yesterday there was a prime example why this situation in Kherson region is a trap. And well, the point is that yesterday several major Russian media outlets, their friends, did publish a news that Russian Defense Ministry made decision to regroup forces from the left bank of the Dnieper River deep inside the Kherson region on a more optimal positions. And after some time, and many people believe this, and in internet some users did begin cursing defense ministry because of yet another regrouping, and some people began defending this decision of defense ministry. It was a kind of chaotic situation for a little while, and then Russian Defense Ministry retreated this news, and they said that Russian media made a mistake and Defense Ministry is not regrouping forces from nowhere in no direction in Kherson region. Everything is under control, and the situation did calm down. But can you believe that several major media outlets did publish news, and we are talking about news agencies, by the way, big names in Russian media. And can you believe that these media outlets by mistake published something without receiving this information from Defense Ministry? I find it difficult to believe in this. So I guess Russian Defense Ministry conducted some kind of media operation. They send by mistake this type of information to news agencies that some regrouping is planned, and then after short while retracted this information, stating that some kind of mistake did occur and no regrouping is planned. But we all know, dear friends, that in Ukraine, Zelensky and his associates are in desperate situation, and once they receive information about possible regrouping of Russian forces, probably they will see this as an opportunity, as a kind of opening to send more and more troops into the left bank, so that eventually they will push Russians out from these positions. Because if Russian Defense Ministry prepared the statement about regrouping of forces and by mistake send to media, and that will be understanding of Kiev regime, I guess, then in that case, one may think that Ukrainian forces may quite successfully launch offensives in direction of left bank. But in reality, I'm quite sure this was not to prepare the news from Russian Defense Ministry, because they are planning some regroupings, but this was a media operation. This is my guess, of course, but I believe this was a media operation which may work. I don't know. Let's see if in upcoming days Ukrainian side will increase its operations in Kherson region. Then we can say that this media operation did work. And why this was done? Exactly to create trap, exactly to enlarge Russian trap, and to invite basically more and more Ukrainian units into the left bank. And it does has a military meaning in all of this, because to continue this local scale offensive operations on the left bank, Ukrainian side, Kiev regime have to keep in Kherson region on the right bank dozens of thousands of military personnel, several brigades, by the way. And at this point, although we have no exact date, but in Kherson region on the right bank, Ukrainian side probably are keeping few dozens of thousand military personnel, maybe poorly trained, poorly equipped, and so on. But still, these are military personnel, and they have at least AK-47 in their hands. So you have to take so many armed people with serious approach if they are not really know how to use this AK properly. Although we cannot say that all Ukrainian militaries at this point are poorly trained, but that's a different topic. I guess we received yesterday at least partial confirmation as a result of this media operation, I will call it that Russian forces are definitely creating trap for Ukrainian military personnel on the left bank. And because Zelensky and his associates are unable to learn nothing, by the way, I believe some experts in Ukraine will recognize this situation, and they will probably give some advices to Zelensky and his inner circle that this is a trap, this is a media operation, don't fail to this trap. But when Zelensky demonstrates that he is able to listen to anybody or to learn something. So let's see. By the way, I'm quite sure in coming days we will see significant intensification of Ukrainian units in Kherson region. More and more Ukrainian military personnel will try to cross the Dnieper River, and after number of Ukrainian forces will reach certain point on the left bank, we will see Russian counteroffensive. We will see Russian counteroffensive, because it's obvious that after some time, this Ukrainian amphibious force on the left bank will begin experiencing severe shortages of everything, because logistics in this area is a total nightmare, especially when the Dnieper River is controlled by drones constantly, and it's never easy to cross this river. And of course, Russian side will not allow Ukrainian militaries to establish some pontoon bridges. It's not happening. and Ukrainian formations on the left bank will be forced to operate without any support of heavy military equipment. So it's definitely a trap. I have more reasons, more arguments and indicators to think so. And let's see how will situation develop. But yet again, by the way, officially, all this mess in the media, in the Russian media yesterday, officially it was a mistake. But I believe it was some media special operation from defense ministry, exactly to to enlarge this trap and to indirectly force Zelensky's regime to send more and more troops into the Kherson region. Right now, situation, by the way, is under full Russian control. Nothing is happening in this sector that can be called breakthrough or can influence overall situation in immediate future. But yet again, if my understanding of situation is correct, then in coming days we will see significant activization of Ukrainian side, and more troops will end up in that trap. When it comes to second, more or less hotspot, which is Donetsk direction, of course, main area of activity is Andreevka. And according to latest reports, Russian forces did manage to improve their positions in area of Stepove, although this settlement itself is still under control of Ukrainian forces or in the gray zone. At this point, we can probably say that this settlement is in gray zone because it's gonna be extremely difficult for both sides to stay in this settlement. It's almost completely ruined, by the way, this settlement. And I guess in a week time, Russian forces will begin operations in direction of Berdichi. Also, yesterday I did report that forward units of Russian military personnel beginning reckoning force operations to conduct reckoning force operations in direction of industrial zone of Avdiivka, where this chemical plant is based. And Tericom, by the way, is already quite a long time in Russian under Russian control. And also, by the way, Ribor did reported that Russian forces also are improving their positions in the southern part of Bakhmut. But yet again, we are talking about some local scale military operations. The Russian side is preparing ground to conduct decisive actions when time is right. When it comes to operations inside the Bakhmut itself, my understanding is that we will see it somewhere around in 3 to 5 weeks. And well, when it comes to other sectors of the front line, initiative is in Russian hands just about everywhere. In Zaporozhye sector of the front line, in South Donetsk sector of the front line, in northern sectors of the front line. There are some local scale skirmishes, artillery duels between the sides, drone wars, but nothing in the scale that can be called a breakthrough for anyone's side. And of course, Russian side did become significantly active in the Bakhmut area also, and it definitely seems like Russian military units in this area are determined to regain control over all the territories that have been lost during this so-called Ukrainian counteroffensive in this area. I'm of course talking about Andreevka, Klishevka areas, and of course northern flank of the Bakhmut. Also, and Russian forces are improving their positions on daily basis. It seems like Kiev regime don't really have enough. Did not come up with any solution for lack of manpower on the many sectors of the front line, especially in South Donetsk sector and in Donetsk direction, and especially in the Bakhmut sector of the front line. There are at least about 30,000 Ukrainian military personnel in Avdiivka area, which is also Donetsk direction, but in Bakhmut area, Russian forces for quite some time now are conducting local scale offensive operations quite successfully, and they are not really receiving as much opposition from Ukrainian forces as one may expected, and probably this is because of this severe lack of manpower that Ukrainian Air Force are experiencing. And this is it when it comes to short summary of the situation on Ukrainian battlefield. I will say operational pause. All in all, operational pause is still holding, and no large-scale operations have been conducted during the previous not just 12 to 24 hours, but for quite a while. It's operational pause. That's been said. Let's continue with some other news. And dear friends, Russian media outlets did reported this morning that during the early hours of today, of this morning, Russian air defense system shut down 4 Ukrainian drones over the Russian regions. And also, dear friends, very interesting informations are coming in from Ukraine. All we are informed that there are some serious tensions between Zelensky and Zaluzhny, between Zelensky and his inner circle or political so-called leadership of Ukraine and the military leadership. And yesterday, Ukrainian MP, Ukrainian member of parliament, Alexei Goncharenko, who is a mass murderer, by the way, and war criminal. This individual was participating in Odessa massacre, where tens of people were burned alive by Ukrainian Nazis. So this individual, one day or another, will definitely face justice. I'm quite sure about it. But meanwhile, yesterday, this criminal, which is active member of parliament in Ukraine, did come up with statement and said that in upcoming days, number of Ukrainian generals will lose their position, and some criminal investigation will begin against them. Later on, Defense Ministry of Ukraine did come up with statement that no Ukrainian generals, high-ranking officers were dismissed, at least at this point, and nothing extreme is happening. But well, there is so many reports are coming in that this confrontation between Zelensky and Zaluzhny are becoming a thing in Ukraine, that well, it's hard to believe that nothing is happening. Something definitely is happening, and if Zaluzhny and his officers that are in support of him did not act in fairly short time, I guess Zelensky with active use of SBU, Ukraine's secret service, will take down Zaluzhny and his generals one by one. So they have to rush. They have to rush. And also, by the way, rumors are circulating in internet that Zelensky and SBU, they're still operating under direct orders of CIA. And according to these rumors, Washington have not yet made decision to remove Zelensky, and therefore CIA still is in support of Zelensky. But in other hand, London had already made decision to remove Zelensky, and it's London then pushing this idea of Zaluzhny becoming next leader of Ukraine. So we are now seeing not just confrontation between Zelensky and Zaluzhny, but also confrontation between CIA and MI6. So let's see which one eventually will come up victorious from this spy war or conflict of secret services. But at this point, seems like Zaluzhny and his masters from UK, from MI6, are in better position. But let's see how will things go down. After all, Washington may change their approach towards Zelensky anytime, and they will. I'm absolutely sure that at some point they will greenlight removal of Zelensky. This is undoubtedly, and then, well, CIA and MI6 will begin operating in hand by hand when it comes to this Ukrainian story again. RIA Novosti is also reporting, dear friends, that Hungary once again refused to support 500 million euro aid package to Kiev regime. Well done, good for Hungary, and this time Peter Szijjártó, head of Hungary's foreign ministry, did say that Ukraine did not guarantee all the rights of Hungarian companies as it was demanded by Hungary, and this is one of the reasons why Budapest cannot support this aid package. Although Hungary has many more reasons, by the way, and one of them is that rights of ethnic minorities in Ukraine are not protected in any way. These neo-Nazi Ukrainians, by the way, they are hating not just Russians, they hate everybody. They generally hate everybody. And ethnic Hungarians, by the way, are no exception. And in Transcarpathia, quite a big number of ethnic Hungarians are living historically. We are talking about hundreds of thousands of Hungarians. And Budapest did demanded from Kiev many times that rights of Hungarians, ethnic minorities in general, and Hungarians among them, supposed to be and should be protected by Kiev, but Kiev regime don't really cares. As we know, main force in Ukraine right now are neo-Nazis, and of course they don't care. Therefore, we have a strong statements from Hungary yet again towards Ukraine. Let me read several of them. So Ukraine has no intention to resolve concerns about its treatment of Hungarians and other minorities living in the western province. Hungarian Foreign Minister Peter Szijjártó told reporters in a meeting broadcast on his Facebook page on Monday. Instead, the government of Kiev has focused on duping the rest of the world into believing the minority rights issues is resolved or almost resolved, even as the situation for Hungarians living in the province of Transcarpathia deteriorates even further. So, as we can see, Hungary has many reasons to be not happy with the actions of Kiev regime, and it's not just some economical issues between the sides, but it's also social and political issues, including treatment of ethnic Hungarians. And dear friends, I remind you to have a reference point. Since Soviet Union collapsed, Crimea was formally at least part of this so-called Ukraine, so-called state. And Crimea did become under Russian control and then part of Russia after 2014, isn't it? So in more than 30 years since collapse of more than 20 years since collapse of Soviet Union, from early 90s, from 91 to 2014, Crimea was under control of Kiev regime. And what do you think? How ethnic minorities were treated? In Crimean example, in Crimea we have a Russian majority, people that associate themselves as Russians with Russia. So, and Russian speakers, so they are majority Russians, they are minority Ukrainians, people that see themselves as ethnic Ukrainians, and Tatars, by the way, also minority that are Tatars, and they have their own language also, which is a Turkic part of Turkic language family. And you think Kiev regime treated people decently in this area? Of course not. You know, when, for example, Tatar language did become a regional language in Crimea, did receive status of regional language, and when you have status of regional language, then government not just supporting you to develop further your language and to save your language, but government spends significant money for this. You're receiving government support for this, and the language is taught in the schools, and when the language is regional, you can operate with the language whenever you are communicating with the state institutions and so on in the region. So it's a significant stuff. And what do you think when Tatar language received status, for example, of regional language? Only after Crimea became part of Russia. All rest of the time, since the collapse of Soviet Union, Kiev regime had more than 20 years to treat minorities with dignity as equals, and for example give Tatar people to protect their rights and to give their language status of regional language, but they did not. They did not. And the very same was happening, by the way, in western regions, in Transcarpathia, for example, where Hungarians were treated so badly, by the way, that many Hungarians were forced to move to Hungary, to apply for citizenship of Hungary, you know, and to completely associate themselves and their future with the Hungary, because Ukraine was doing nothing for them and continues to do nothing. So Budapest has every reason to be mad at Kiev regime, not just for now, but for decades of appalling treatment of ethnic minorities by Kiev regime. And I just give you example. And in Crimea, by the way, you think how Ukrainian language is treated. Ukrainian language is also a regional language in Crimea. It's three languages there, by the way, officially operating: Russian, Ukrainian, and the Tatar language. That's a Russian approach, and you can compare this Russian approach to approach that Kiev regime had before they were in control of Crimea, or approach of Kiev regime when it comes to other minorities on territories that are still controlled by Kiev, for example, Hungarians. So, you know, Ukraine was acting as a neo-Nazi state since the collapse of the Soviet Union, because neo-Nazis did take over the Ukraine almost straight away. That's unfortunate reality, and even these so-called pro-Russian presidents, Yanukovych and before that Kuchma, that formerly were called pro-Russian, even they did not do nothing to combat this sick neo-Nazi ideology and these sick neo-Nazis. They did nothing, because they were Nazis also, man. And it's horrible that this Yanukovych, this criminal is in Russia now and feels okay. I mean, why? How he deserves to stay in Russia at all? Moscow did make so many mistakes, by the way, so many mistakes, man. Yes, there are some achievements also, undoubtedly, but also so many mistakes were done, especially in communication with the former Soviet republics. It's just unbelievable, man. And Ukraine is a prime example. Why anybody in Moscow did think that Yanukovych is a decent human being, this corrupt animal, or pro-Russian? He is not pro-Russian. He is a corrupt animal, and he did nothing against neo-Nazis when he was in power. And neo-Nazis took him down, by the way. Main force during 2014, this armed coup, main force was during that coup was neo-Nazi units, armed neo-Nazis that were working under direct orders of Western secret services, primarily US secret services, and are working under their rule. But anyway, let's continue. RT is also reporting that head of EU's diplomacy, Borrell, did come out with statement that EU has given Ukrainian military 27 billion euro worth of aid, military aid, maybe more. Who knows? At this point, anything comes out from these corrupt individuals. Borrell and the rest of them cannot be taken seriously, but EU definitely spend dozens and dozens of billions on Ukraine to further escalate and prolong this conflict. And of course, we all know that significant number of this money eventually find its way to corrupt officials of EU and military industrial complex there. Same happened with the so-called US aid to Kiev regime. But anyway, let's continue. RT is reporting that French government did make a decision to end the free weapons supplies to Ukraine, and from now on, France will act differently. They will provide some loans to Ukraine so that Kiev regime will have an opportunity to buy weapons in France from French weapons manufacturers. So they, for whatever reason, seems like French government is a little tired with this washing machine, money laundering machine that modern Ukraine have become, and they are not playing no games no more. They are officially saying now that, you know what, we will give you loan. Let's call it a loan, and you will buy weapons. You will send this money directly to accounts of our defense contractors. That's all it is, really. At least in this point, they are direct. They are not playing no more. When we all know that significant amount, I cannot say percentage wise, but significant number of these billions and billions that was formally sent to Kiev regime, of course, eventually end up on accounts of Western military industrial complex and corrupt officials. And next big topic is, of course, Middle East. RIA Novosti is reporting that Israeli militaries did take control over the parliament parliament building in the Gaza, and you can see this picture here, which is made inside that building. And well, I guess nobody has any illusions that IDF will establish control over the northern Gaza. It will take some time, but eventually, of course, they will establish control over the northern regions, and that's what they are doing. Mainly IDF established operational control on the northern regions of Gaza, and we are now hearing statements that Israel did not promise that there will be no military operations in the southern Gaza. So this is, I guess, clear indication that once IDF will regroup and will deal all the remnants of Hamas units, Hamas or other units in the northern part of Gaza Strip. They will then begin operations into the southern parts of this region. And at that point, as I said many times before, Egypt will end up in a situation when some decisions have to be made, because refugees, Palestinians, will have nowhere to hide from bombings. And I guess Cairo will be forced, official Cairo will be forced, government of Egypt, to open border and receive hundreds of thousands of refugees from Gaza Strip. And eventually, I'm afraid, Israel will not just occupy this region, but force everybody, all locals out of, or majority of locals out of Gaza, and then Gaza Strip, and then this region will be integrated into Israel. And if a conflict, by the way, in the region will further intensify and third parties will get involved, Israel may do very same with the West Bank by forcing local Palestinians into Jordan. Although Jordan already did made statement, Jordan officials, that if Israel will force Palestinians out of their land, then Oman will receive it as declaration of war. But I mean, I don't think Jordan will go any further than some harsh statements, to be honest. Let's continue. TASS news agency is reporting that Hamas did make statement that they are ready to release about 100 hostages if Israeli side will stop its military activities. Well, yesterday was the first day when Israel did, if I'm not mistaken, when Israel did conducted this first 4-hour truce in the Gaza. So for 4 hours, at least formally, Israeli side should stop its military activities, and it's quite possible that sides will achieve agreement, and as a result of release of hostages, Israel will agree to stop its military activities for a day or two, for several days, but no more than that. At this point, unfortunately, I don't see a realistic chance that Israel will stop its military campaign. And TASS news agency is also reporting that 169 Russian citizens have been evacuated from Gaza Strip through Rafah checkpoint with Egypt, and they were moved. Initially, they were moved into Egypt, into Cairo, and then MCS, Russian Ministry of Emergency Situations, with assistance of Russian Ministry of Emergency Situations, Russian citizens did come back to Russia. Maybe not all of them, but Russian ministry is in there, operating in Egypt and assisting Russian citizens. And I believe not just Russian citizens, whichever country will ask Russia for support to evacuate their citizens, I'm quite sure Russia will assist them also. Also, by the way, TASS news agency is reporting that Israeli ambassador in Russia, Alexander Ben Tzvi, did made a statement about UN's role in the escalating situation in Middle East, in this current escalation between Israel and Palestine, and he said that UN basically is unable to do anything, and UN cannot influence anything, and it was proved many times. So Israeli ambassador did express his critical attitude towards UN, because this institution, international institution, is not really capable of much, which is true, by the way, like it or not, but UN is a failed institution. And the Israeli ambassador did said whenever there is where is the example when UN did something positive when it comes to conflicts, and when UN stopped any conflicts? When? In this case, hard to argue really, because no one cares about UN's resolutions and so on. Conflicts can be frozen for time being, and some peacekeepers may be deployed under UN jurisdiction and mandate, but eventually when it comes to resolving conflicts, I cannot remember if any conflict was resolved with UN participation. I truly cannot remember, man. UN is represented everywhere, but when it comes to real deal, UN does nothing. And we clearly can see it right now these days, because UN cannot stop Netanyahu's government to commit genocide. UN cannot stop Netanyahu's government from committing war crimes against Palestinians and against humanity. So UN is definitely some failed institution, and it's supposed to be, I don't know, man, reorganized, modernized, whatever. But it has to change, because current UN, I mean, it's a laughing stock, really. RIA Novosti is reporting that US, according to Russian Foreign Intelligence Service, US is demanding from Israel to fast track its military operations, and in order to achieve all the main goals that Israel has, because longer this conflict continues, more difficult is becoming to continue this support of Israel, and more isolated Israel and US itself did becoming, and well, especially current administration of Biden does wants to see fast tracking of operations in the Palestine, between Palestine and Israel, because of 2024 presidential elections, and Biden or whoever stands behind him, real decision makers, they do realize that society in the US are divided, including on this issue also. Palestinian-Israeli conflict, quite divided, by the way. Recently, I did share with you numbers of studies that was conducted in Russia, in which more than 70% Russians said that they are not taking sides in this conflict between Palestine and Israel. More than 70%, by the way. So society here is not really divided by this issue, when in the US situation is quite different, and society is divided on this issue, especially, by the way, what is more important for Biden's administration, I guess, leftists or neolibs or whatever they are, man, they are divided. So some internal civil war is beginning now among supporters of Democrats. High-ranking officials of Democrats, they are all in support of Israel, when some other low-level officials are in support of or congressmen or just ordinary supporters. They are more leaning towards supporting Palestine, and this reality, of course, does disturbs Biden's administration. So, well, I can see logic behind this information that is coming from Russian intelligence, that Biden's administration is pushing Israel to fast track its military operations. And also, dear friends, you may not believe in this information, but this is true. RT is reporting that Israel wants Tony Blair, by the way, yet another mass murderer and criminal, war criminal, to be a humanitarian coordinator in Gaza. Unbelievable, man. Unbelievable level of degradation of the so-called elites, man, worldwide is just unbelievable. So Israel is considering hiring former UK Prime Minister Tony Blair as a humanitarian coordinator for Gaza in attempt to elevate international concern over excessive civilian casualties in the enclave. Israel outlet Net reported on Sunday. So, well, Netanyahu's government did see that world community is not approving and are not in support of atrocities that Israeli army and the government of Netanyahu are committing against Palestine, and world community is basically united that one atrocity that was committed by Hamas cannot be justified by those atrocities against Hamas, who also committed atrocities, cannot be justified. So one atrocity do not justify another. It's very simple stuff. And if Israel was, by the way, conducting some special operations with special forces, going into Gaza, taking out Hamas terrorists, everybody who was participating is in killings of Israeli civilians, and all of them are terrorists, by the way. There is no way I'm gonna ever see those mass murderers that kill innocent Israeli civilians as some kind of freedom fighters. They are no freedom fighters, by the way. They are mass murderers and terrorists. So if Israeli government conducted some special ops to neutralize those terrorists, I guess world will understand this, because after atrocities that was committed by those terrorists against innocent civilians, who will say anything, right? Of course, those terrorists supposed to be eliminated, no questions. But what Netanyahu's government did, instead of special operations, they are beginning to decimate the entire region, by the way, killing thousands of civilians, and the world is shocked. And that's why Israel did find itself, Israeli government, by the way, did find itself kind of isolated. And in the situation when they are now looking for some people who may kind of, elevate their agenda and bring some support to Israel. But yet again, man, if they think Tony Blair has some respect in this world, and Tony Blair gonna help them, they are very much mistaken. And by the way, then Netanyahu and his government, they are also terrorists, undoubtedly. Because what is the definition of terrorism? When one group or another, using terrorist methods, are terrorizing public to achieve their political goals. And Hamas and Netanyahu's government, they're definitely acting as terrorists. That's what they do, by the way. Definition of terrorism says that. So yes, Tony Blair, yet another mass murderer. I don't think he will help in any ways. Israeli government, yet again. We should always make this, always differentiate. It's a government and state, and the government not always represents. It always represents states, but not always represents people. And Netanyahu's government definitely not represents, I believe, opinion of Israeli society. And that's why right now, as we speak, by the way, there are significant activity in Israel itself to somehow remove this mass murderer from office, Netanyahu. So Israelis are not happy also, by the way, and worldwide, whenever you see this protest, huge demonstrations against actions of Netanyahu's government, you also see many citizens of Israel that are participating in these demonstrations. And just recently, dear friends, one of the members of our community did share exactly this information. So no, we should always be, you know, direct when in our criticism. Well, let's continue. RT is reporting that several news about some economical stuff overall. By the way, when it comes to situation in the Gaza Strip, but as it was expected, of course, IDF is gaining initiative all along. They have significantly more firepower, undoubtedly, and my understanding is that once they will establish full control over the northern sector of the Gaza Strip, they will begin operations in the south, direction of south, if Netanyahu is not removed from office. If Netanyahu will be removed from office, then something may change. But as long as Netanyahu and his criminal government is making decisions, then I don't think anything will change significantly. And also, by the way, Israel continues to shell Lebanon on daily basis. Just look at this, man. All these blue dots are shellings and strikes that was conducted by Israeli forces on southern Lebanon. And these red dots are operations that Hamas conducted. So you clearly can see difference, isn't it? But at this point, sides are continuing just this border shelling of each other on the border regions mainly, and there are not that many indicators that Hezbollah has plans to get involved in this confrontation with full force. And well, let's hope it will stay this way, because if Hezbollah will get involved in full force, it will be devastating for Israel and Lebanon, and it may provoke further escalation in this region, and in that case we may see some regional war also. But yet again, by the way, because I see these reports that people in Israel are looking for ways to remove Netanyahu and his this crazy and criminal government. Well, if these rumors are correct, if these informations are correct, and if people did manage to remove these crazies, then we may see quite rapid de-escalation in that case. RT is reporting that most Americans feel poorer under the Biden administration. Well, only 14% believes their finances have improved during the last several days while Biden is president. Well, I'm not really surprised. So majority of US voters are dissatisfied with the President Joe Biden's economic policies, according to latest monthly poll conducted by Global Strategy Group and North Star Opinion Research. The Financial Times reports on Monday. According to findings, some 61% of respondents said they are disapproved of Biden's handling of economy, while only 36% approved. Nearly 70% claimed that Biden's economic policies have either hurt the American economy or had no impact on it. Some 33% stressed that the president's actions have hurt the economy a lot. Just 26% saw Biden's policies as beneficial, while only 14% believes the finances have improved since the current president took office. Well, I said many times before, man, in my personal opinion, Biden's administration, current leadership of US is main danger for US and main enemy for US and US citizens, for many reasons, not just for domestic policies that they are conducting, but also for international policies that they are conducting, because US did lost reputation unbelievably during these last several years, by the way. unbelievably and losing on daily basis. Reputation, and US needs reputation, because US stands on used to stand on its reputation for, you know, for some time. But now US only stands on sheer force. Just a force, man, and it will not last long. And that's why I believe Biden's administration basically destroy future of US. I don't think US will ever be able to recover from damage that was done by Biden's administration, man. Just this act of international terrorism on Nord Stream pipelines is such a damage for US reputation that I don't think it's even possible to recover from that. And so many other massive mistakes and crimes was committed by Biden's administration that, you know, I don't know, some miracle has to happen for US to, you know, to maintain its relevance and to regain respect worldwide. That's how damaging Biden's administration was, by the way. I mean, that's how we see it from outside of US. I mean, in US, our friends from US may see stuff differently, but from outside, that's how it seems, man. Let's continue, and TASS News Agency is reporting that the former Prime Minister of UK, David Cameron, did become a Foreign Minister of UK. There was some reshuffle in government of Rishi Sunak yesterday. Head of Home Office was removed, if I'm not mistaken, because she did write some post or article in support of Palestine, and according to reports that I read, she was removed from office because of it. And then Foreign Minister take a position of head of Home Office, and now David Cameron will become a new head of Foreign Office of United Kingdom. But this is the third time, by the way, in all of history of UK, if I'm not mistaken, when the former Prime Minister did become a head of Foreign Office also. And well, I don't think what David Cameron can bring to the table. UK, you know, UK's government. Did the UK ever had the decent government for last, let's say, 2 decades, 2 or even 3 decades? I cannot remember, man. They always have some strange people in government. You know, they used to have great leaders in UK, but nowadays there's some strange people, man. With you know. And UK is losing because of these lightweight so-called politicians have been elevated in the UK's politics, and the heavyweight politicians were moved aside in all the parties, by the way, in all parliamentary parties in UK. You have this kind of stuff when some lightweight individuals are changing positions like it does makes any difference. It don't. Who cares about David Cameron? He was Prime Minister, man. And did he done any good, man, for UK? Of course not. UK left EU while he was Prime Minister, isn't it? Am I remembering correct? And did he prepare UK for such a... Or Boris Johnson was Prime Minister when UK finally leave EU, but referendum was conducted during the David Cameron's leadership, isn't it? But anyway, I'm not expert in UK's policies, but what can I see from my perspective is that these lightweight figures, man, they are not serving interests of UK's society. I'm quite sure about it, man. I mean, who are these people, man? They cannot protect And I don't think they're even trying to protect the interests of citizens of UK. And I don't really think they even understand what interests of UK citizens are and how UK citizens live, ordinary households, what is their problems, what issues they need to be resolved first and the second and third and so on. So, you know, anyway, let's continue. And this is maybe said about the so-called elites just about everywhere, worldwide. But in the Western world, these guys are, the so-called elites, truly are, I mean, significantly out of touch with reality in comparison to some other regions, because it's a generational stuff in the West, isn't it? It's generation. These clans or families, they are generation after generation after generation are in ruling positions, and generation have been raised that have no idea how ordinary people are living. When in Russia, for example, situation is very different. Here, all even oligarchs, by the way, do remember, I guess, times when they were just living ordinary life, and then, you know, somehow they did manage to steal so much that they become oligarchs. And even high-ranking politicians do remember when they were just ordinary citizens, because there is not such a stuff in former Soviet Union as a generational rule over the states, or generational elites or something like that. Anyway, let's continue. RIA Novosti is reporting that Rostev, by the way, did reported that Russian fifth generation fighter jet Su-57 continues to be modernized, and these fighter jets did receive, by the way, new engines, Escalation 30, and some newest planes are operating on these new engines now, and all the planes are continuing to operate on the old engines, and engines does make a difference because at least according to some technical stuff, fifth gen fighter jets should be able to fly supersonic without using afterburner. And I guess this Escalation 30 allows Su-57s to achieve supersonic flight without using afterburners. So quite and also, by the way, these planes are receiving updates when it comes to weapon systems and weapon control systems. So, you know, they are quite capable. In my opinion, these Su-57s are best looking fighter jets ever created. And when it comes to actual capabilities of the planes, they are also there on top, right next to F-22, US F-22. RT is reporting, by the way, that BRICS country imports record amount of Russian oil. Russia delivered the record amount of crude to Brazil in October, becoming the country's third largest supplier. RIA Novosti reported on Friday, citing statistics. The Latin American country resumed crude imports from Russia in September after a 2-year hold, the outlet said. Moscow exported 207,000 tons of crude oil worth of $133 million in October, as it seeks to strengthen its position as a leading fuel exporter to the fellow BRICS members as a part of broader efforts to build the new markets. And well, great news for Russia and also for Brazil, by the way, because just look at the history. Russia was always a reliable supplier of energy. Russia is always a reliable partner when it comes to business deals. And even now, by the way, even now, as we speak, Russia continues to deliver gas to EU member states, despite this extremely anti-Russian stance of very same EU member states. With some exceptions, by the way. Of course, Hungary does receive Russian gas and oil, and Hungary is acting neutral, respectfully, and deserves respect. But other EU member states like Spain, France, Germany, they are acting extremely anti-Russian, isn't it? But they still receiving energy from Russia, and that's why I think for BRICS member states, it's quite important to establish these new trade routes with Russia, because Russia is always reliable. When it comes to business, there may be some different ideas about some political stuff and this and that, but if Russia did sign some contracts, I don't know what's gonna happen for Russia to break this contract. And that's why Russia still continues to supply energy to European states that are extremely anti-Russian, because there is a contracts in the place. RT continues that oil could hit $120 next year. That was reported by Fitch Rating. The conflict in the Middle East threatens to disrupt the oil supply and subsequently hurt global economic growth in 2024. Fitch Rating has warned in a report on Friday. The agency outlined the potential scenario which higher than expected oil prices, which is expected to curb world GDP growth by 0.4 percentage points next year. Well, there is so many scenarios, by the way. So it's so many ways that things may go from very bad to absolutely devastating. It's already devastating, but things may go even more devastating ways in the Middle East, and all these scenarios from big names in industry, in financial industry, like Fitch Ratings and so on, they are only so much relevant because if, for example, Western ruling class manages to engulf entire region into conflict, entire Middle East, and if shipping in the Persian Gulf will be disrupted, then and world market will lose all the oil and gas that it receives from Middle East, then then world economy is in big trouble, and oil prices may hit not just 120 but 150, 250 dollars a barrel, if not more. And just imagine how devastating that's gonna be for economy worldwide. TASS news agency is reporting that Rostech, by the way, also make an announcement that domestic build SG-100 passenger plane in 2024 will be delivered. First planes will be sent to customers of these planes, and which is also, by the way, great deal, because only few countries in this world are capable to build independently planes, military planes, civilian planes, and and Russia is one of them. Russia definitely is making some significant steps to rebuild its industry, its aviation industry, which was devastated after Soviet Union collapsed. And Russia is in the right path, and we are on regular basis receiving information about some successful steps in the direction of military aviation, some successful steps in the direction of civilian aviation, and this news is example. Dear friends, at this point, when it comes to civilian planes, we have information that Russian industry is planning to deliver to customers and build massively in mass, not just SG-100 planes, but also MS-21 planes, also in Il-96 planes, and I may not remember now, but some other projects also are in works. So it's all good, man. It's all good. If Russian companies will begin cooperating in significant manner, in significant level with Chinese, by the way, with Chinese companies, they will manage definitely to find their place on the world market. Independently, it may be a little difficult for Chinese and Russian aerospace companies, but if they will combine their efforts, they will definitely come up with product that can be and will be competitive to planes of Airbus and Boeing. Quite sure about it. But anyway, if Russian companies will operate independently, they will still find their ways to establish themselves on the world market. I have no doubts about it. And this is it for now. Hopefully you will find this update interesting, and if so, please consider to click that like button and leave some commentary about any topic you like. And well, if you can, please share links to my videos or my channel with your friends on any of the platforms that you are active on. And if you think this project with several channels are interesting, useful, informative, and deserves to exist in this field of news and political commentary, please consider to support my work with small donations through PayPal, Buy Me a Coffee, or by subscribing to my Patreon page. You can see links under this video in the description box or in the pinned comment. This is it for now. Have a great day and take care.